to Switched On IT. This is the show where we talk about IT and internet, and we talk about search engine marketing. Last time, you may remember, we talked about Bitcoin. I hope that session was really interesting for you. Today, I believe now we have Doug and Ray with us again. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you today?
Good morning, Barry. Greetings from Sydney.
Hello there.
Hi, Ray. Now, gentlemen, I believe that we're going to talk about marketing today, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Well, this should be a really interesting session. I will turn this over to you now. Doug, take it away for us.
Yeah, thanks, Barry. It's always a challenge for businesses, small businesses, to look at their online marketing, their digital marketing. So today what we'd like to talk about is the online marketing piece, and there's two broad areas we've spoken about in the past as well. We've spoken about search engine marketing and search engine optimization. Search engine marketing is the paid advertising. But I thought I'd just throw it over to Ray just to help us define, what is search engine marketing, what is SEO, what are the differences, and then let's talk about the different platforms that are available to us to take a bit of a dive into search engine marketing today.
Absolutely, thanks, Doug. So the idea behind search engine marketing is that it's an all-encompassing term, right? So you can think of it as the umbrella term to many different ways in which we optimize or present ourselves to search engines, right? And so the search engine results page is the page on which a user lands when they do a search, whether that be on Google or Bing, Yahoo, or another search engine. And the hope is that your business shows up in front of those people in a way that is pleasing to them, that's persuasive to them, for them to click on your link. And so in the case of search engine optimization, we're looking for what we call earned media, right? We're earned exposure, meaning that we're using the organic parts of our website as well as our other properties across the web to be able to garner positions on that search engine results page, what we call a SERP. Then, of course, there's online advertising, and online advertising is where we pay paid media, paid display of our business in front of those folks. So I think those are the two core pieces. There's more than that, obviously, but I think those are the two big umbrellas, Doug.
Yeah. Thanks, Ray. And I guess once we jump into the search engine marketing space, which is where you're basically paying for either clicks or a level of exposure, there's a couple of different main platforms that are available to most businesses, and I think many of them are already familiar with these. On the one hand, you've got Google with their AdWords product, and then on the other, you've got Microsoft with their Bing product. Should we be using both of them, just one, just the other? What are the sort of criteria through which we might decide which platform we're going to use for our paid advertising program online?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, and it's certainly a complex answer, which is we can kind of debate this between you and myself, which is, in reality, it's going to really depend upon the business and what they're looking to inure, what they're looking to benefit from the dollars that they're putting in. I think the first thing to think about always when it comes to the idea of doing online advertising is developing a budget, sitting down with a business advisor or your financial advisor at the very least for yourself personally or the business, to identify how much of what we call ad spend, the budget you're going to use to be spending on advertising, and then look at the various networks. As you said, there's Google AdWords, there's Microsoft Bing, but there are a wide variety of other ad platforms that you can also be advertising on, including there's TripAdvisor and Yelp and many others where you can spend money in order to gain exposure. I think that for most small businesses, Google is a great first avenue, But I think you and I were actually having a discussion before we started recording about some of the benefits of maybe using something like Bing. If you want to kind of explain a little bit about that, Doug, that we're talking about, because I think it's really pertinent to what folks are doing.
Sure, indeed. And I think one of the things about Bing, the Microsoft AdWords product, because I guess it's just lagged a little bit behind Google in its development. The cost of advertising on Bing to generate a click-through or to generate a lead tends to be a little bit less, oftentimes quite a bit less. Now, that also reflects the fact that the amount of traffic on Bing is not nearly as great as the amount of traffic on Google as a search engine. So if you look at Google and Bing as being two search engines, Google tends to be the preferred search engine. So if you want to have your business's advertisements appear in response to a keyword search on Google, you're probably going to pay a little bit more per click to appear on Google. So then it gets a little interesting because we don't have an unlimited amount of money to spend. So some businesses might look at their business and they can say, all right, well look, there could be 5,000 results for a particular, or 5,000 searches for a particular keyword on Google and only 1,000 on Bing. But if all you can afford to buy, because on for example, let's say on Google the cost of a click-through was $5 per click, if you've only got a budget of a few $1,000s, you're going to exhaust that budget very, very quickly on Google, potentially in the first couple of days of each month. So then you might look at a product such as Bing and look at the cost per click there. It might be slightly less, but still there's enough quantity of searches for that keyword being executed on Bing that you've got your budget would be very quickly exhausted on Bing as well. But if your budget on Bing is actually buying you more leads, then that's when you might actually say, well, given I don't have unlimited resources, I've got a very limited budget, I'm actually going to generate more click-throughs and more leads to my content on Bing. I might just put most of my budget onto Bing and just leave a smaller amount for Google, maybe on some different types of keywords that aren't quite as competitive and not quite as therefore costly. So they're I think there's a couple of forks in the road where people might say, yeah, AdWords, yes, Bing, okay. Here are some criteria by which you can decide where you're going to put your hard-earned advertising budget.
Yeah, and one other thing that I use with clients is the use of Google Analytics or whatever other website analytics tool you're using. If you actually dive into that data, you can see where most of your traffic is coming from. And if you can recognize that most of that traffic is coming from one or the other of those search engines, there's actually like a little bit of what I call search engine mojo that happens when you display ads where you are ranking well for organic search results. So when you display ads in the same space as organic search results, you get a lift in the amount of clicks through to the organic links that show up on the search engine results page. So if you're getting some good traffic from Bing, then it makes a lot of sense to advertise on Bing, because that's going to increase the earned link click-throughs to your website.
As soon as you walk through the door, you'll feel right at home at Oakey RSL. With a warm, inviting atmosphere, you can simply relax and have a drink at the aviation bar or watch sport on their large-screen TVs. There's something for everyone with live Fox Sport on the big screen on Saturdays, kids' entertainment on Fridays, and morning melodies with Kathy Drummond every second Tuesday of the month. Call in, enjoy a delicious meal at Flanders Bistro, and catch some great entertainment. Check out all they have to offer at www.oakeyrsl.com.au, drop into 76 Campbell Street, Oakey, or call them on 46912655. Oakey RSL, it's your club. Enjoy.
Whether you're a professional musician, a weekend warrior, or just starting out, you need to talk to the experts at Royce Music. With over 35 years experience, Royce Toowoomba's oldest music store specialise in guitars, drums and sound equipment, and can even repair and maintain your equipment. Call them today on 46 327 377, drop into their showroom at 17 Bowen Street, or find them on Facebook. Royce Music, selling Toowoomba's finest musical instruments.
Break out the popcorn, sweets and drinks. It's Sunday night at the movies. Latest release movies brought to you exclusively by US filmmakers including Lima Films. Sunday night at the movies, so join us every Sunday night at 7 p.m. right here on Power TV Australia.
Welcome back. You're on Switched on IT. We have Doug and Ray with us. Doug and Ray, you were talking before the break about the use of Bing. Let's pick it up from there, and we'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Barry, and thanks, Ray. You make some really good points there about using Bing and the cost per click and getting some terrific mileage out of your advertising campaign, your advertising budget. Now, I guess the next thing that we need to consider, once we've looked at the ad platform that we're going to use, and we've got some of the good information that you were talking about from the analytics in those platforms, and that's guiding us as to the keywords that we're selecting for our ad campaign, we need to then build that out and look at all the potential keywords and phrases that might be useful to us in developing a campaign for our business. What do you regard as the do's and don'ts in going down that path and developing a really effective keyword list?
Well, Doug, I think it's really important to look at the clear general terms, the plain language terms that people use in order to find your products or services. Many times business owners focus on their name. They want to rank for their business name, when in reality, the people who type your business name in already know you. You've already done some kind of offline marketing or some other kind of marketing that has led them to you. So the idea of you ranking for your own name, unless your name is I do taxes in Toowoomba, is not particularly useful. So you should be looking for those kinds of terms that people are going to be searching for generally to find you. And then there are two kind of avenues, and maybe you want to talk a little bit about long tail, and I'll talk about localizing. But can you explain to people what long tail keyword searches are?
Yeah, sure. Just keeping it on the discussion about, for example, a tax accountant. If you're a tax accountant, well, in this country, there's tens of thousands of tax accountants. So if you were to choose a word like accountant and try to build out a campaign using people who are typing in the word accountant, and you're going to bid on appearing in those searches, in those search responses, you're probably going to spend an awful lot of money, because there's going to be a lot of searches for that particular word. So that's where you need to get a little bit smart about it. Now, although there might be 100,000 accounting practices in Australia, they're not all doing the same thing. Some of them are going to be tax accountants, accountants that do personal income tax. Others might specialise in corporate tax. They might have an industry vertical that they particularly favour. So they might do tax accounting for healthcare providers or something like that. So each business needs to look at the area of specialisation they're involved in, and that might then inform their decisions on not just grabbing a keyword that searchers might jump onto, but is very imprecise in terms of targeting their particular services. If they've specialised their accounting practice in working for the film industry or for the healthcare industry, then really you don't even want to be seen by people who are looking for a personal income tax accountant. That is just a waste of your money if your ad appears in front of that person and then they click through and then they go, oh, these guys are actually not even doing personal income tax returns. What am I doing on their website or on their landing page? Wasted money. So you'll get a lot more bang for your buck if you can think of all the long tail search terms, and by long tail we just mean rather than a single word, it is a small phrase, or it could be quite a long phrase. It could be 5 or 6 words that are then adding up to be the search term that somebody's putting in. And we joked before about I'm looking for a personal income tax accountant in Toowoomba. To the extent that people might use tax accountant, personal and Toowoomba in their search term, that could actually be a very effective way for an accounting firm specialising in personal income tax returns in Toowoomba getting exactly the right kind of search traffic they need and not having wasted click-throughs to their landing page. So that's how I see the long tail. And Ray, what's your experience in generating those phrases? Are there any sort of tools that we can use to help us identify what they might be?
Sure, there are many tools online. If you go online to Google and just type in keyword tool or keyword planning tool, you will find at least 4 or 5 that come from major SEO / search engine experts out there and agencies that are out there. And we use a wide variety in our own consulting practice for our clients. And what we typically find, though, is that if a client sits down and writes out a list of all of the various questions that their clients ask them on a day-to-day basis, they would probably come up with 30 or 40 long-tail keywords or key phrases that they should be ranking on Google for and Bing. And then those are potentials. You can do the searches within Google, the Google AdWords Keyword Planner, as well as within the Bing console to see whether or not that is enough traffic to warrant you having a campaign based on it. And so just sit down and just write out what are the various questions people ask. How do I, if you're a tie shop, how do I tie a tie? If you're an accountant, how do I file my taxes in Toowoomba, right? And this brings us kind of to the localization part. By adding the service areas that you provide your products or services, you're capable of further limiting the pool of people that are seeing that ad. And by doing so, you're actually capable of creating a more customized ad. So what I really want to see small businesses do is to have many small advertising campaigns that are highly customized and spending little bits of money across a wide variety of campaigns, at least to start, and that are driving traffic to you. And then over time, you see the ones that are working, you optimize those. You see the ones that are not working, attempt to optimize, but eventually cut your losses and get rid of them. Rebundle that budget, that ad spend that you're spending on the failing ad campaigns, and put those into the ones that are optimized, and further optimize them, and then you're basically doubling down on your efforts for the ones that are working. And if you can truly optimize on one side by using long tail keywords, and then on the other side be able to localize and use what it's called negative keyword, basically saying I don't want to be seen for these kinds of keywords because they're useless to me. Like, case in point, if you were looking for, I'm just going to use a general one here instead of a long tail, but if I put in beetle, there's a conflict, right? Because there's the the insect, the beetle, and then there is the car, the Volkswagen Beetle. And so you can actually, if you're Volkswagen, you can go ahead and negative keyword index the word insect, so that whenever that person typed in a search, I would not should be shown when someone typed in the word beetle insect versus VW Beetle. So you want to use that kind of the tools that are built into the platform to be able to minimize your ad spend on useless stuff and maximize it on long tail keywords, as you said, as well as localizing.
Yeah, good advice. I think the negative keyword, negative phrase tool is incredibly important, because in the English language there's just so much ambiguity in words, and I've certainly made significant use of that. As a hosted exchange email provider, in our early days in using keywords, we're getting people looking for placing foreign exchange students. So the word exchange was bringing those folks in, and of course there is currency trading as well, and that's going through some kind of an exchange. So we obviously started to build out our list of negative keywords around exchange students and currency exchanges and those kinds of things, and really try and nail it down. So and also in that area, you've got the ability to have a broad search on keywords, and also exact match and phrase match capabilities as well. Do you want to sort of touch briefly on how you use those?
Yeah. So the way I explain it to people is kind of similar to the way in which people are looking for things on the internet, right? And so people will look for, when they do a Google search, they sometimes put quotes around a phrase that they're looking for, because they know that exact phrase needs to appear in their search results to be the thing they're looking for. Similar to, like, if you're looking for song lyrics, you might type in exact lyrics from a song and put them in quotations in order to be able to find them. And so the inverse is also true when you're doing these searches for exact matches. This is also useful if you have what's called an EMD, or an exact match domain, meaning that the domain name of your business is also the exact words that someone would type into Google to be able to find your product or services. And then, of course, Google has the ability, and so does Bing and other search engines, they have the ability to look at a wide variety of semantic connections to the searches that people put into their search field. And so then basically they can look for related keyword terms. So there are two ends of that spectrum, right? One is looking for very exact phrases, and the other is looking for synonyms and related phrases that would then drive traffic to that ad as well. Yeah, indeed. And so once we've got our keyword list and our phrases, and we've divided them up into exact match and phrase match, and we've got our negative keywords, somehow we need to start creating ads and potentially ad groups. Tell us about how you use the keywords to inform the ad copy that you write in your ads. What's your experience there? Yeah, so this is one of those cases where I wish that there was an ultimate formula for every business, but it really comes down to speaking to the core benefits of what the client, what the ultimate customer is going to experience. And if you can do that, then that's going to be, hopefully an effective ad. But much of ad development, from the copy to its visuals and everything else like that, there are so many factors that it's almost impossible to kind of explain all of those, except to say that you can look at good ads, when you see them, and then you can use those as examples for creating ads for yourself. So I always say, go out there and look at the ads that speak to you, and then save them, print them, screen capture them, what have you, so that you have them available to you when you decide to go ahead and either have a graphic artist put them together, or you start to use a template system and design them. Google, and especially, has an ad tool that allows you to create these display ads. So it can be very useful to use the tool that's built into Google AdWords to be able to create these kinds of either text-based ads or visual display ads. And they have all these templates for you to be able to do so. Other tools, I think we've talked about Canva here on Switched On IT before, but Canva.com is a graphic design tool, and it gives you the ability to create ads in a wide variety of different layouts, and they give you templates, so you can go ahead and set them up, and you can look at the repository, the pool of ads that speak to you, and go ahead and look at those to see which ones you want to emulate. Look for the ones that speak to you, have the same benefits, maybe they're in the same vertical or industry as yourself, and decide on those that you want to emulate and do so. And then, of course, you're deciding on keeping your brand colors consistent and use language that's going to call people to action. We frequently say this in our world. There needs to be a call to action. There needs to be a verb that tells me to do something, right? Which is either call, click here, buy now, join us, something that's going to call that consumer to jump on board and come through the ad to our landing page.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry for that little interruption there. So I think one of the things about keyword selection there is using those keywords in the text in the ad copy itself, so that it kind of resonates with the person that's executing the search. That here's that phrase again in the headline of the ad. Well, then that kind of indicates to them that the itch that they've got, we might really be offering a scratch with our solution. So I think that's an important component of creating ads. And I think one of the other great things about the platforms is that you can have multiple different competing ads for the same keyword group inside the same ad group, and very quickly you can see which ones seem to be resonating with potential customers and which aren't. The click-through rate will tell you which ads are working for you and which don't seem to really gel with them.
Absolutely.
Okay, gentlemen, that's been a really interesting discussion today. The floor manager is telling me to wrap this up, so we're going to have to leave it there. Any final comments you'd like to make on this, either of you?
Well, certainly from my perspective, I think we probably we may in another session have a chat about analysing the results from executing search engine marketing campaigns, because I think there's a fair bit of information that we can delve into there across things such as cost per click, cost per lead, cost per client acquired, those kinds of measures that inform us about the effectiveness of campaigns. I think it's a whole other topic.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. Definitely.
All right. Thank you again, gentlemen. This has been an interesting session. We will look forward to seeing you again next time. This has been Switched On IT on Power TV Australia. Today we've had Doug and Ray again talking to us about search engine marketing. We will look forward to seeing you again next time on Power TV Australia on Switched On IT. For now, take care.
Thanks, Barry. Thanks, Ray.
Thanks, Doug.
Looking for exposure for your business or event? Take your business, community event, training seminar, sports fixture, function, concert or exhibition to the world with Power TV Australia and Power FM's unique live outside simulcasts. We can turn your next local event into a worldwide sensation with stunning live pictures, interviews, graphics and live action replays for a fraction of the usual cost. From a festival or sports fixtures to a corporate or charity event, Power TV Australia and Power FM can take your message live to our local and national viewers and listeners. Invite the world to your party by contacting Barry today on 0431 390 920 or email programming@powertvaustralia.com for a quote.
Classic Vinyl.
This is Debbie Harrow from Blondie.
This is Jimmy Barnes here.
Stevie Nicks from Fleetwood Mac.
This is Reverend Willie G from ZZ Top.
The best tracks from the greatest albums of our generation.
That's right.
From your breakfast and coffee to your drive home.
We've got the classic hits that make your workday
when you got a job to do
go by a lot faster.
Hey, if we haven't said it lately, thanks for listening. The home of classic rock.
Don't touch the dial.
PowerFMradio.com.au